We have come to the end of the day of questioning of Roger Pearce at the undercover policing inquiry. He has been questioned about Operation Muscat, a number of other issues to do with James Thompson, as well as a couple of discrete items. He's talked about his views about undercover police officers being arrested and going to court in their fake names. He's spoken very highly of the undercover police officers, despite what bad they did. He hopes it doesn't wipe out so much of the good that they did. I'm joined by Evelyn Lubbers, the Undercover Research Group. What did you make of it all?
Well, his biggest speech that got lost in the breach,
which we can't talk about because it's in the breach.
We talk about now, but
we can't talk about it. I mean, we really can't talk about it. Even though it wasn't the reason for the breach, because it is inside the breach time, we can't talk about it. I've been in trouble for doing this exact thing. Please don't mention it. I know it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Well,
but
we know this 2 minutes breach.
But that part wasn't in the 2 minute breach. That was in a much longer breach in order to hide that particular information. When they give the timing, it was much longer. And that particular he did talk about. I know the speech you're talking about, and that bit was caught up in the timestamp. Ridiculous, I know. I agree, it's ridiculous, but we can't talk about it.
Okay, but he talked very highly of the individual officers, but also of the unit as such.
Yes,
he still thinks they did such good work, and that was like the theme of the entire afternoon, I suppose. When talking about Operation Muscat, about moving John Dines, because Helen Steele was hunting him.
Yes,
and he was corrected, that hunting might not be the right word, because she was a woman in love, very worried about. And I said, I couldn't know that, but you're right, hunting. What was the other word?
He said he preferred tracking or tracing.
Tracking or tracing. And then it was put to him that when she finally traced him down in person, that famous bit of film on the airport, she talked to him sharply, he said, and he had to confess that indeed nothing happened. But he kept saying the group she was in, the stuff she had done, other people may have felt betrayed and had wanted to do something to him. On the whole, he kept sort of exaggerating the danger and the activities the people and groups that was part of in, kind of to get sort of get an can't speak anymore, I'm so tired, to sort of approve of the STS and its existence. It was like the same with getting arrested as an undercover officer in your false name, appearing in court in false name. He said they would either they would inform the court, and either the case would be pulled or the court would know that they would appear in a false name. Everything to protect both the officers themselves and the STS as a whole, and that was the general theme. They did so well. They did under such hardship. The way they had to live in squats and in I don't know if you did that in the last video. He even kind of acknowledged that the relationships could be necessary, or had to be necessary. Deeply, and again, would then say, if that was done to uncover a big crime, he would even, he would give his permission for it.
Yeah, he did. I found that one of the most shocking things that he said was when he was shown some of the letters that John Dines sent to Helen Steele. He said how distressing it was to read those words, and having heard from the women their testimony, how distressing that was, that these women were clearly in love, and also that the undercover officers themselves would have been in love. Deeply, deeply offensive, and showing that he really doesn't get it at all.
He doesn't get it at all, and also although he claims he has watched women giving evidence, there's so much evidence that these these officers did it just, as a perk of the job, and that in how they talked about the women in their reports or in conversations with their superiors, it shows that they were not in love, absolutely not, and they could, like they wrote awful things about the women involved. And it's that is something that hasn't come out enough, I think, in this inquiry. All women involved have had more disclosure than has been discussed, and some are very frustrated about what has not been put to the officers or put to their superiors, because it gives such a totally different impression of, for instance, the relationships.
I mean, it should be noted, we can't talk about what happened in the closed sessions. We don't actually get to see them, so there's no danger of us breaking any restriction orders. But I think it's worth pointing out that those closed sessions are there to protect the privacy of co-participants, and I think you can probably guess from that they refer to relationships. There is a lot about the relationships that we don't get to hear about. A lot of very disturbing things that the undercover officers did, which are not public knowledge for obvious reasons. There was a lot of it was put to Roger Pearce a number of times about the proportionality and the justification of Operation Muscat, which, the relocation of John Dines cost over £2.5 million, and that did not include the cost of all the trips that SDS officers and special branch officers took to the Antipodes in order to facilitate that. He said that it was still all worth it. He believes it was necessary. It was justified. It was important. He said that even knowing what he knows now, he would defend and knowing what he knows now, he wouldn't have done anything differently, because he says that even though there was no danger to John Dines, there was still the danger of his embarrassment and a compromising on
his reputation.
His reputation,
that he couldn't work anymore as a lawyer, and it's like there was a lot of like those poor undercover officers.
Yes,
so
very
many
much.
Hardships, so many like.
He talked about how arduous it was for people to live in squats, but the overriding point he was making was that it was the operational security of the SDS itself, which trumped all other things. And we really saw that with we talked about James Thompson. We also, after lunch, we looked at the True Spies documentary, which really just shows what a nonsense that his concern about the operational security was, because he was cooperating with the BBC film crew and journalist Roger Taylor. Peter Taylor, it's Roger Pearce. That he was cooperating with him in order for this documentary series to be made that exposed the existence of the SDS in the first place, something which many former special branch officers complained to him about. He said, it was already a done deal, and that he just had to cooperate to make sure that it was done sensitively, and that. But
that is so clearly. That is like so
Absolutely.
clearly. I have another like nice story about this. It's like when. It wasn't a freedom of information request by me, but by someone else who asked for information about a topic that was discussed in True Spies, and the response he got through What Do They Know was that they couldn't give him that information, but it had been in True Spies, so maybe he should look at that.
Insane.
So it's like, they only want to go public when it's good for them, or when they think it's good for them. And that entire story that Pearce spun today, that he only cooperated with them to sort of as a way of sort of damage containing. That is such nonsense. It's like also like in that same freedom of information request, we found a letter that I don't know whether it's contained in the evidence now. Pearce wrote a letter to all SDS and former SDS officers to forewarn them basically about True Spies, that they probably had heard about it, but that they were really the MPS, the Met was really keen to cooperate, and we think it's doing a lot of good to all the hard work that special branch officers have done. So he clearly, like what he said today was in hindsight. Back in the day, he took a stand and he defended the program, and that is basically like one of the questions he could ask was, why did they all, like angry special branch and former STS officers, why did they all vote to you? It was because he had defended that, and that didn't come out today.
No, it really didn't. I mean, we had some ridiculous things. I mean, earlier on today, he said that he was unaware of homosexual relationships being engaged in by undercover officers, and which had been alleged by the partner of HM123. But in True Spies, it talks about it.
Yeah.
This. I mean, the idea. It's just ridiculous. And I mean, that wasn't explored at all. He wasn't called out on it. Frustrating. I think there was a few things about the way the questioning went today that was frustrating. I feel we skipped over quite a lot of topics, and there was, again, there's a sense this all is being done in a rush, just trying to get through it, get to the end of the day as quickly as possible. A lot of the questioning by the Counsel for the Inquiry, Don Ramble, was very long-winded, sort of giving the witness like as much detail as possible so that it could just be the shortest possible answer, and then they can move on to the next topic.
Yeah, and he had clearly been trained. He did better, than the time he was here about his deployment as an undercover. But what he also did was like using those long winding questions to just sort of repeat them in his own words as by way of an answer, but it wasn't an answer at all. So he had less of the can't remember, can't recall that we see by so many other managers. But he had his own ways, his very slippery, oily ways of not answering questions.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he only said that he couldn't recall on one occasion, but he essentially provided the same non-answer multiple times, as you said, by just sort of repeating the question. And then, I mean, in some cases, he then had to present the question, and then the question that follows from that is this, and it's like, yes, that was the bloody beginning. Like, you're so irritating, so very irritating. But I mean, we're kind of used to that. We've had a couple of comments. Thank you to everybody who leaves comments. Really helpful. If only the SDS were around now to save us all now. Yes, I mean, well, quite. I mean, there's a lot to suggest from the comments he made about sexual relationships being entirely justified if it was in a case like that of Palestine Action. He didn't name Palestine Action, but it was very clear what he was talking about. Suggests that there are very similar things happening now. It seems ridiculous there wouldn't be. As from Pat Veggies, the disregard for members of the public is shocking, whether activist or not, straight or gay, women or fraternal male friendships, children, wives, and others. Yeah, indeed. Can't
be saying it better.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's really frustrating.
That was Roger. That was yeah.
So we will be going higher and higher.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee that it's going to be less frustrating.
No. We'll be back again tomorrow. We've got Alan Mitchell, HN236. He'll be giving evidence at the normal time. I'll be starting at around 10 a.m. Oh, there's just another comment here about the breaches. The breaches trampled all our Operation Muscat again, deliberate by PS. I mean, it is hard to think that it's not deliberate. I think PS is fully aware of the areas which are restricted. They've been made very clear to him in a number of different ways. I mean, when I tweeted, "Oh, there's been a breach," they hadn't been announced yet. It was obvious as soon as he touched on the topics that he touched on that it was going to be a breach. Yes, what happens is, as we all know, that the prevention of the broadcast goes on for an incredibly long period of time for what is only a couple of minutes of actual evidence being given. It makes following the inquiry from a distance almost impossible if you wanted to stay on top of everything that's happening. It's why I'm here every day, because you simply can't rely on the feed to broadcast everything. Very frustrating.
Indeed.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, we'll see you all again tomorrow, bright and early. Thanks to everybody who's liked and shared. It makes a huge difference. Thanks to everybody who likes the other videos I've been doing, the short reels direct to camera. I'll try and do some more of those. They clearly get a much wider reach than anything else I do. But obviously, there's only so much time in the day. Thanks for joining. Bye for now. See you in the